welcome inside the Crazy Ant Farm. How are you?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Oh, we are living the dream as always, and we are super excited to talk to you. You have been in quite a few things that we enjoy and have watched, and so we're all excited to talk to you about that. But yeah, your career is a pretty interesting one to follow. You've done just about everything. It's rare that we get to talk to people who have been in front of the camera, behind the camera, voice work, a little song and dance and some animation and just like
Yeah.
so. Yeah, it's always interesting to kind of talk to people like that and just kind of see the whole route. But what we like to do, just to give a little introduction to the fans who might not be familiar with what you've done and things, is talk about how you got started. How did you get into the industry? Was it something you always knew you wanted to do as a little girl, or did you kind of fall into it? How'd you get started?
Yeah. Well, I'm really happy to be here. Thanks for having me. This is so fun. Super grateful, and I'm glad you guys reached out. And I got started actually in dance. When I was 9 years old, my family is from Mexico, and so my parents, my grandparents. I was born in Houston, Texas, and the Mexican culture, like a lot like in California, is really strong there and
Yeah.
really prominent. And so I actually started in something called ballet folclórico, which is traditional Mexican folk dance.
Okay.
So if you imagine like, the guys in the mariachi
Hmm.
outfits or like, the colorful dresses and all of that. I mean, that's like one particular state, but it's all of that. So I started in traditional folk dance. When I was 9, I danced with a couple of different companies. I did that for about 9 or 10 years. And then really it was sort of a step-by-step transition. I had a really hard time in middle school,
Okay.
and my English teacher was one of my favorite teachers. And after an oral presentation, she said, you're really good at speaking. She said, you should join the speech and drama club. And I'm going way back, you guys.
No,
This
it's
is like
good.
I
It's
was
All
good.
good. We're
born
here
on a
for it.
cold winter's night.
Yeah.
But I just think I love sharing this story because I think that I rarely hear like how people got to where they got, and even the incredibly like amazing actors that I look up to that we all know. I feel like I would love to know how they got there. Anyway, so yeah, a speech and drama class turned into applying for a performing arts high school, which turned into applying for, a university, applying to go to drama school for college, which turned into studying classical theater in London, which turned into working with a theater right after graduating, a Shakespeare theater company, which turned into working with another Shakespeare theater company, and then I'm here in LA and actually playing Romeo and Juliet during a summer Shakespeare festival got me like my first representation, and
Nice.
that started the like on screen part of my journey.
Right.
So
Right.
Oh, that's amazing. Talk
yeah,
about a beautiful snowball effect, right? I
Yes.
mean, the step
yeah,
by step to be able
yeah.
to find yourself to where you are now. And throughout your journey, do you feel like there were specific aspects that you took away from that you felt like you wanted to give along that piece of advice to the up and comers who break into the entertainment industry? Because this
Oh,
podcast is for the up and comers trying to break into it. We have an industry news segment, and then we have the guest segment where we give you all the latest industry news so that you can hold your own in a conversation with executives or other people in the entertainment industry.
yeah,
And then we
yeah.
like having our guest segment to where they can pass along their experiences. So do you feel like there's a particular experiences, kind of like the do's and don'ts of breaking into the industry?
Oh my gosh, I love that question so much. And I wish I had this space on the internet when, I was 20 years old, not knowing what the
Right?
heck next, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so I'd love to share at least to get to where I'm at, right? And I still have goals and aspirations
Of
and
course.
dreams, and everybody's kind of on their own path. And I think that leads me to a really important message, which is everybody has their own journey
Yes.
and
Mm.
their own path. and it is not like anyone else's. And I think I had to do a lot of detangling from, well, but my friend graduated and immediately got a series regular, and but this person was famous at 12, and like, but the comparison game is really, really treacherous, and is really easy to fall into, especially as a newcomer, especially as someone, who just has the dream awakened in you, and you haven't even begun. So I think one of the important things that I would tell my younger self is do not compare your process, your progress, or your timeline to anybody else's. And to go along with that, I would say, and also live your life. Like, have your hobbies, have your friends, travel, live and have experiences, because all of that feeds into how and who you develop as an artist.
Yeah.
And so I think another thing that I did for a few years was just think about the industry, like just think about strategy and what am I going to do next and who do I need to network with? And I mean, it just became, that's important. All of that is important. Having a career mindset and looking at it as a business, and, not getting too enamored with things, all of that stuff is important. But what has really kept me level-headed and sane in this really kind of like roller coaster ride of an industry.
Yes.
Those anchoring experiences and those passions that were beyond the career, so yeah, I would say just enjoy your journey and fill it with all the things that make you happy.
Yes. See, I love so much of what you just said right there. And it's awesome that you said you love to share this story, because it's one of the things that's the most popular about our podcast that we hear from our listeners, is that when we have our guests on, they do open up, and it's like we're just having a conversation and talking like we're sitting in the living room, and they get to know you guys, right? It isn't just come on and talk about your project and this and this. We like this, so they feel like they get to know you guys and get to know. And one of the things is hearing those stories. We've been very fortunate to share along with our guests how people from Oscar winners all the way down to people in their first gig, how they did get started and how it is all different, and they all did go a different way to get to where they are. But what you just said, equally important, is the one thing they all have in common is they all did learn the same thing that you just spoke about with, I got so consumed with it, I forgot to live life. And I started to see my success when I remembered to live life and not worry about it. I did my audition, now I'm going to go do what I do, and I'm not going to sit by the phone and wait. Yeah. And so a lot of our guests are the same way. They were like, oh yeah, I've got a life. This is just a job, and I have to figure out, and that's when they start seeing success. So I'm so glad that you shared that, because I think it's extremely important, especially for people trying to break into this industry, because like you said, it's a roller coaster. It's based on selection. Yeah. We call it selection, not rejection, but it is based on selection. You're not always going to get selected, right? We'll share that story in a minute. That's another guest who kind of gave us an example of, and we love it. We use it all the time. Tony?
Oh my God, I'm going to frame it in this empty frame. Right
yes, there you go. Tony will love that. But what I really like is because we ourselves and society puts that expectation on us about what success is, right? Oh, yeah. So like you said, but my friend did this and I'm not there yet. Or, and it goes even if you're not in this industry. By 20, I have to have a boyfriend or a husband. And then by 24, I have to be married and have a kid and I have to have the house. And we're conditioned to believe this and somehow think that we're failing if we're not meeting those expectations. When in reality...
That's a podcast. Yes.
Right?
Yes. Yeah. And so in reality, though, we do that to ourselves. So we allow society to... There is no... Definition of success is what you said. Am I living my life? Am I passionate about what I do? There's the fireworks. I'm passionate about what I do.
Cool.
Oh, yeah. So thank you so much for sharing all that and getting deep into that, because I think it's extremely valuable information for anybody trying to break into the industry. It really is.
Oh, man. No, happy to. I get really passionate about actually these kinds of conversations, because I remember feeling so lost and alone a lot along the way, and not and only being able to compare myself to what was visible, which was kind of a different echelon of success or celebrity or wealth or whatever, and that it can feel like a chasm, you know,
Yeah.
that feels almost like impossible to traverse. And so just to know something like this would have been so soothing, you know what I mean, along
Right,
the way.
right.
Yeah, and validating of the process,
Mm.
you know, and validating of the reality that what, you know, I feel like 10% or even 2% of what you see is just a little bit of glamour, and you don't really notice the machine and the time and the years and the, you know, effort and the selection that
Yes.
has gone on before that and all around that to get to those little moments. And it's very disorienting, you know.
It is.
Oh, for sure, for sure.
Yeah.
And that story that he was talking about earlier, our guest Tony Winters, who came on quite a while ago, he talks about the casting process and being an actor, or at least being a casting director, like shopping for cars. So maybe you yourself, you're a Mercedes, and the person, the casting director, is in the market for a Toyota. So at that
Mm.
particular time, they're looking for the Toyota. Doesn't mean they don't want the Mercedes. Maybe the Mercedes is just too expensive. But, just being able to get to the right place and get the right time to where they're ready for that Mercedes, they still have their little folder to where they can open it up and be like, this is the one I want. That's what I want. So, yeah,
I
it's
remember that
interesting
Mercedes, yeah.
That's right.
Exactly. It's great to be able to think about things like that because it takes you to so
Yeah.
many different places on your journey. Because I mean, the possibilities are endless in the entertainment industry, right? And I mean,
Yes.
you are living proof of that. Being a dancer, being in theater, being on commercials. I mean, not only would I want John Goodman to talk for me while I was eating a Big Mac or a quarter pounder, but I would also love to dance in a Sprint commercial. And I just
Oh
want to
my
talk
God,
about
you found that
how
one?
much how much input did you actually have in that dancing commercial? Because coming from a dancing background, it kind of looked a little risque, if you know what I'm saying. So let's talk about
Okay,
it.
I am so excited to tell this story. I mean, my
Yes.
friends know this story. My obviously, you know, people close to me know this story, but I don't know that this story is actually public, and I don't think I'll get in trouble for telling it. But actually, that commercial. Oh, now I'm like, am I going to get in trouble for telling this story? I don't know. I'm going to tell it. That commercial was on the fly.
Oh,
Oh.
wow.
If you worked in restaurants like I have, you know what on the fly means, right?
Oh, sure.
So
Yes.
at least how I understand it is I was actually cast in a commercial as like a hand. There were, but like we had manicures that day, you know,
Nice.
and the commercial was actually like people holding phones. It was very like practical.
Yeah.
It had
Right.
nothing to do with dancing. We were on set. I think I was on set for like 10 hours or something. I mean, it was all day.
Wow.
The end of the day came, you guys, and a PA, they were sort of letting us go one by, like they were getting finishing shots and then letting people go one by one.
Yeah, yeah.
And then it was towards the end of the night. And I mean, I've just been sitting there all day, grateful, but like it's a long day. And
Right.
the PA goes, I remember a PA goes, hey, and he looked at me and he goes, do you know how to dance? And I went,
Lip hair. Yeah. Like,
listen, I don't proclaim to be some fantastic dancer, but I love to dance, right? So I just said, hell yeah. I was like, yeah, I know how to dance. And I don't know what went on behind the scenes, but they had to create a spot kind of on the spot.
Yeah.
We literally, for that first commercial, we literally used a backdrop that was on at that warehouse.
oh my
The
goodness.
director had a little Bluetooth speaker and said, what kind of music do you like to listen to? And we just improvised the entire thing.
Nice.
And he was just like, you're so excited about this sale. You're so excited about the price of the phone. Like, you're so like
Right.
now you're going crazy. You know, like it wasn't like your usual commercial where normally you'd go in for an audition and they would make you dance. Or
Right,
see if-
right.
You know, no, I was there for a completely different job. And they had to something, I don't know, the behind the scenes that I don't know anything about. They needed something, and I just happened to be there, and I happened to say I can dance, and they created the spot, and then it just
See-
ran like crazy. So much so that they brought back another version of the spot with another actor, and they actually held like a casting call, and there was the
That's
shoot.
hilarious.
Yeah.
That spot. I mean, like that's.
But you know
Yeah.
what? I
That's
absolutely
crazy.
love that story because often often in our industry, ego starts to creep its way in, right? And it starts to get in the way. And you get to that, oh, but that's too small a role, or oh, it's not a speaking thing, right? And we try to pass along to everybody. It's all about getting on set. It doesn't matter what you're doing.
Oh my gosh.
Get on set, because you never know what's going to happen when you're on set. Even if you just do the gig you were hired for, it's a learning experience. You get to watch all the other people. You get to do the kind of... But then there are stories like yours where all of a sudden you're like, wait a minute, I was supposed to show my hands and now I'm the star in this commercial and I'm dancing and doing all this crazy stuff, right? It goes... Yeah, no, I was going to say, it goes back to the same kind of a thing with a Harrison Ford being a painter/carpenter, and Lucas sees him and goes, oh, this guy looks actually like maybe he could do this, and ends up, going on to this huge career. So if you're on set, you never know. But if you're too good for certain things and you don't put yourself out there, you're never going to get those opportunities. So hearing those stories, I love that. And what a great story. And then, like you said,
it's one of my favorite stories, honestly, because it just... And we were all tired. Everybody was tired. And I'll add one more thing just because it's really near and dear to my heart.
Yeah.
Is we did take after take after take, and he just kept going like, do hammer time, like disappear out of frame, and like all kinds of goofy things.
Yeah.
Just kept, I was so like loopy that I forgot that, of course, like, people are not going to be reacting because you have to be quiet on set.
Right.
But for some reason, at that time, my brain was like, I'm not being funny enough. Nobody's laughing. So every take, I kept going harder and harder.
Yeah.
And I just kind of, the whole time, you guys, I felt like I was failing. And then once they yelled like the cut, and everybody started laughing.
Yes.
I went, oh my God. And the whole time I was like, I thought I was sucking. And they were like, no, everybody's like holding back their laughter the whole time. Oh my God. And that was an earlier job. So it was one of those things that like I learned on set. Oh, right. Like, you're not, this isn't theater. You're not going to get a response right away. Like, people are like,
but one of those rare experiences though, where like, cause theater, you have to project, you have to get to the back row, you have to be loud, right? This is one of those rare experiences. No, it's a camera gig, and I still get to be loud and crazy, and
So I don't know. My brain was like macaroni and cheese by the end of the night. I couldn't. I didn't even know what was going on, and I think I autopiloted and was just like, I'm not getting a response. Because you're right, in the theater, what's beautiful about that is you're in a live and present dynamic, right? It's happening in real time, and in relationship and in conversation with human beings live.
Yes.
And you're getting the feedback right then and there, which is why it's different every night, which is why it's beautiful every night. You write it from beginning to end every night, all of that. So that's my core. That's where I come from. So my muscle memory is the stage.
Yeah.
And so there have been times where I get behind the camera and I have to kind of like, kind of reprogram a little bit and realize that it's I'm like not on stage. Oh,
so real quick though, because Logan and I were talking about this prior to the interview and everything. So is it just us, or is the McDonald's commercial a little risque? I mean, Goodman starts to get into it with the sounds and stuff when you're eating the burger,
and like commercials that end up being like a little. You're
like, John's enjoying that burger a little too much while you're eating it. I'm thinking.
Listen, the things that didn't make the cut, you guys.
I can imagine.
I can only imagine.
I want to say John Goodman was an absolute like delight to work with. He was like, oh my gosh, like a cuddly dad. I mean, he was so darling and so down to earth. Also, I think a theater guy, because he was doing warm-ups before takes. I just wanted to hug him, and during lunch, like he ate with the rest of us. You know what I mean? It was very, very cool, very humble. But he's also like a great comedian and a great improviser. And so there he ran the gamut. Like we did so many takes, and some of those takes were absolutely not gonna make the cut, and other ones that were totally fine, but there was definitely, he was riding the edge there, but I think it kind of makes totally. He's the voice inside my head, so really it's they were my thoughts.
Exactly.
And
Exactly.
giving voice to them.
Oh my goodness.
Selling
I can
burgers.
only imagine a world of, the little devil and the little angel on the shoulder, but both of those being John Goodman.
Yeah,
That would be hilarious.
Yeah.
Oh my
that's
goodness.
that's a really funny. That would be funny, like if he did,
Right? We're
a whole
pitching it. We're
marketing
pitching
thing.
it
Yeah,
right
yeah,
now.
come on.
We should
John,
pitch
if you're
that. John
listening.
Goodman as both. Yeah.
Yes.
Could
I
totally
love
see
it.
it.
I love it. Well,
Mhm.
I mean, of course, the time has come for us to talk about Netflix's one of their hottest shows out right now, and one of the biggest reason I wanted to talk to you, Eric and Benedict Cumberbatch starring in this bad boy. It was such an interesting concept because I imagined the new If movie with Ryan Reynolds meets
Yeah.
Prisoners with Hugh Jackman, which is funny because they're about to be in both of that movie. But I mean, it was such an interesting dynamic because not only does it tackle the 90s with the AIDS epidemic, with the freaking being scared to come out as homosexual,
Yeah.
and scared to confront alcoholism or substance abuse,
Right.
sex trafficking, underage. Like, this concept, this limited series covered so many different topics, and it was so entertaining to watch all at the same time, and kind of like a Sesame Street style type of background, which was very interesting and
Right.
different.
Right. Yeah.
So let's start at the very beginning. How did this project come about? Was it kind of like a normal way to where your agent reached out and was like, "Hey, I think this part might be good for you"?
Yeah, that's exactly right. That's exactly what happened. I got, a regular breakdown email that was like,
Mm,
"Hey, you've got a tape due on Wednesday.
nice.
Here are the sides and here's a little bit about what it's about and a
Hmm.
little bit about the character." I mean, it's rare, I think, at this point sometimes when you've worked a little bit, but not a lot
Hmm.
of it. You're at a place where you don't always get all of the information.
Right.
So I was just like, okay, well, great. I have an audition. And I remember that I was also doing a play. I was preparing to do a play, Much Ado About Nothing. And I was just in a place where I was feeling very confident. I was just feeling very good about myself. And then this came and I thought, oh, this is kind of cool. It was also a little different than the things I'd been auditioning for up until then. And I thought, I'm gonna coach for this. I'm gonna get
Hmm.
somebody to just it's been a while. I've done a bunch of tapes on my own. I feel pretty good about it. And for some reason, a little voice in my head was like, put a little put a little extra something on this one,
Yeah.
girl.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So I reached out to a coach here in LA that I love working with, Cassandra Santana, and I said, I really like this. I really like this role. Like, can you help me just kind of get into it? Um, and I'm really glad I did because I think we've figured something out. I ended up, getting a call back, and in post-COVID life, the callback was on Zoom.
Yeah.
Of
Yep.
course.
And I'd actually been really fortunate enough to have a couple of callbacks and producer sessions on Zoom for other projects that I ended up not being selected for. But I remember feeling very awkward on this platform.
Yeah.
Hmm.
I was used to being in the room with commercial auditions. It's all very much in the room, and I work a lot commercially. Anyway, long story short, um, I I got some advice from other friends, and I gave myself a mock audition,
Nice.
friend, and I
Hmm.
Zoomed, and just so that I could kind of get that out, like get that cobweb out of the way.
Yeah.
I
Right.
didn't want to bring in the technical nerves.
Hmm.
So I don't know, something about this audition, I went just a little bit past my norm. I just went
Mm.
a little, not even the extra mile. I went like the extra half mile, it felt like. And I'm really glad that I did because by the time the callback came back and I got to do it with Lucy Forbes, our director, and Abby Morgan, I think our writer was there as well, and other people. I tried to like ignore the little boxes,
Right.
Um, I felt really, I felt really in my body, and it was very fun, and I got to play because I got all the technical stuff out of the way, and
Yeah.
and I coached, so I felt confident, and That's a very long-winded answer.
No, no,
We
but
love it.
um,
We're here for it. This is
it's
your
that was
platform.
the journey. And then I got the call and I thought, oh my gosh, what the heck? This is so great.
yes, and it's
Yeah.
really interesting to hear that though, because it was Tommy Schultz, right, Logan? Is that we? So he also was like that rare thing where he started the audition process pre-COVID, and he was in person and he was there, but it hit during the whole thing, so it transitioned to Zoom stuff, and he's like, so to go from being in the room and doing it how you're normal, and then all of a sudden it's this, it's got to be an awkward trend. I mean, now for people coming up, this is just the norm. This is
This
how
is
you
the
do
norm.
it. This
Is the way it
it's
goes.
gone to
Yeah.
self tapes now. How many times are
Oh,
you
yeah.
submitting just all self tapes via Zoom?
Oh,
It's
yeah.
so, but prior to, if you were working prior to and you had to make that transition, I imagine it was pretty awkward for a lot of people going, how do I even do this now? How do I ignore the boxes? How do I just focus on? So I'm glad you shared that, because I feel like it is for a lot of the people who've been in the industry a while going, whew, it's not just me. I was having a rough time with that, trying to figure that out.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. And I mean, so much of, excuse me, coffee makes you burp.
Yeah, right.
So I feel like so much of kind of what I offer, or at least I hope, in my essence, is something that I can really share when I'm connecting with you in person. I
Right.
think I've gotten better doing it virtually, but definitely at that time, and even in the auditions before, I felt like, I when I got to that that like digital wall,
Yeah.
I feel like, dang, I feel like maybe, I don't know. Again, who knows? We have no control over so many things, but I just think like, oh my goodness, a part of me is like, I think I would have gotten a step closer if we were just in the room together.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah. Well,
you could
because
just feel me, or I could feel you, and I would
Right,
understand a little
exactly.
better.
yeah, yeah.
So yeah, no, I mean, it's bizarre, but that's why it was so helpful to do the mock audition, because I did things that I would not have thought to do in the moment, which is like, you should have seen this apartment. I like marked eye lines all over my apartment.
Oh my goodness.
She was
I
blocking,
marked
like
eye
boom, boom,
lines on
boom,
my
boom.
computer.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
marked, I put marks on the floor, just so that I could
I love
forget
that.
all of that.
I love that.
Stuff
Oh,
that kind of that is important in the room, but when you're in the room, you're there with the
you're just
person.
there. Exactly, exactly.
Anyway, but I mean, listen, I'm grateful for any medium to get to share.
For sure.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
and I understand, especially post-COVID. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
for sure, for sure. And I'm curious too, now that you got to watch the entire series, a lot of your scenes were with McKinley, and your character was set up on a date with him throughout the whole entire thing. Do you think your character knew that he was gay, or and that just tried to like protect him from everything? Because obviously you could tell the whole precinct was a very boys club type of energy, and he tried to keep a very masculine front until of
Yeah.
course he went home with his partner. But do you think your character knew specifically what he was going through the whole entire time?
You know, I I don't. I
Mm,
think I think that just like anyone else in the office, I think that McKinley, or I should say LaDroit, you know,
yes.
character, um, um, McKinley, LaDroit, McKinley,
Right.
uh, you know, was doing his part to survive in that culture.
Right.
And
Yeah.
so I can't imagine that Tina wouldn't have also, fallen to that.
Hmm.
And so to me, it was a more interesting emotional journey to have the aspiration and the
Mm,
hope, and to then realize why it wasn't quite clicking,
Mm,
and
mm,
then to
mm.
have to make a choice.
hmm.
And that's one of the things that I loved about this character, is that she she does protect him before she knows and after. You
Yeah.
know, and she is a source of compassion and of understanding, and she is not homophobic,
Hmm.
and she sees him fully. And at least for me, in my own personal actor's journey in the world, you know, it is a way to love him in the way that she can.
Mm,
You
Mm.
mm.
And I think that that's a really beautiful thing. And I think that, not all love stories are romantic, and then they
Oh,
got married and happily ever after,
Agreed.
so I loved the idea of like, oh wow, how you can love someone,
mm.
Mm.
and it's not always the way that you thought or
No.
you wanted. but
Yeah.
it's the way they need, and that's somehow more important.
Oh,
Yeah.
Um,
love
so yeah,
that.
so I think she didn't, and I think it makes that moment. At least I loved that scene
I
where I
do
got to
too.
be with him and say to him, "Hey, you know what? I've got a cousin who's queer."
Yep.
Right.
You
Hmm.
Right.
And I hope that when people watch that, especially maybe people who haven't or didn't get an experience of compassion like that, just can feel that a little bit,
Yeah.
because
Hmm.
Yeah. Why shows
Yeah.
like this are so critically important, right?
Hmm.
Because of conveying exactly what you just conveyed. Sometimes it's just seeing someone without judgment and providing what they need, right? And it might not be what you thought they needed. It might not be the love or the friendship or the relationship that they thought they needed, but it was, and there it is. And I feel like because of all the stuff that Logan listed about what this show was dealing with in these subject matters and these things, imagine the mental health anguish that people living these lives are going through, right, and the struggle of, and how, if they don't get that person to see them, just that one person, how it could go down a totally different path, and end up more tragic than it need to be, because someone never saw them. And so shows like this to go, whoo, anybody that's kind of dealing with this right now, there's people out there. You're going to be okay. Somebody's going to see you for who you are. They're not going to judge you. You're not alone. You're going to have this happen. And so I think we talk about it all the time about how if we can entertain yet also inform and educate, that's the win-win all the way around, right? Like because
totally.
it's uncomfortable to just sit down and talk about sex trafficking or homosexuality or anything, right? Nobody just wants to sit down and have a conversation. Grab your coffee, let's talk about sex trafficking or like whatever, right? But when you see it in the context of a show or a film, and you talk about what you just watched, right?
Right.
It starts that conversation and it opens up, and people like, so it's so critical that shows like this exist and that you guys are doing things like this. It's amazing. And I want to talk about that too, because you could just see, like when you were talking about it, you light up. You clearly had a back story. You developed the backstory for your character. You could just
Yeah.
tell. You're like, okay, I'm gonna dive deep into this. I'm gonna, here she is. Here's where she's coming from, kind of a thing. And that worked with the cast. I mean, this is a phenomenal cast, right? So again, it had to be like a master class of just sitting back and watching, going, whew,
Totally.
everything that I can. Again, it's that on set, right? You never know. So even if you're not in the scene, you're going, whew, let me just soak all in. I mean, it's Cumberbatch, for Christ's sake. It's like,
100%.
talk about that and the experience of being on a set like that, and how just invaluable that is.
It was. I mean, and I can share about this in from a couple different points of view, because one was, getting to sit back and just watch other great actors work.
Yeah.
And seeing how everybody is a little different, and but not even just what you do in front of the camera, but how you show up to set, how you show up to the hair and makeup trailer, how you interact with the team. Because I think the thing that people don't see is all of the people that it takes
Yes.
to make those things happen, and how hard they work, and how devoted they are, and the fact that they are there before the actors get there, and they are there way after the actors leave. You know what I mean? So watching, these veterans, to me, people like Gabby Hoffman,
Yeah.
and David McKinley and Benedict, like watching them coming into the space and going, oh my gosh, such amazing pros, and taking mental notes all day long. So that's one thing. And the other thing too is being in a creative space led by women, because
Yes.
Sister, the production company, it's Abby Morgan who wrote the script, Lucy Forbes, a stunning director, and then Holly Pullinger, who was our producer, and like those three women on set all the time. And of course, they are just spearheading this thing and creating a culture on the set that was unlike anything I'd ever experienced.
Yes.
So just observing the kind of creative space that is possible when you have these women in charge, and really nurturing this story collectively, which was very cool. And I have a kind of a cool story with Benedict Cumberbatch in terms of like learning something from someone great. Is, we had a scene where I just come in and like deliver a file, so I got to be on set all day,
Yeah.
even though I wasn't saying anything or doing anything. And again, Lucy, being the wonderful director that she is, she sort of ran our shooting days like, almost to me, it felt like mini theater, where we'd all get together, we'd read it through on the page, then we'd speak it out loud, then we'd block it a little bit, then we'd perform it for the crew, then we'd shoot. So it was kind of like a table read, rehearsal, tech show. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? It kind
yeah.
of followed the same path. And I never experienced that before. I definitely been on sets, especially commercials that are fast, or the TV that I've done where it's like you're getting in there and you're just like, here we go, you know. But doing that process was cool. All this to say, I got to be in the space with Benedict before his big interrogation scene, one of his interrogation scenes. And so we all gather on set, and he sort of says hello to everyone, and he kind of misses me, and of course I'm kind of a fly on the wall. I'm not taking it personally, I'm like, he's got a big job to do today. We shoot, and but a little part of me is like, play cool, Erica, you don't need to say hi, it's fine, be a pro. We break for lunch, and I feel a, kind of a hand on my shoulder, and I turn around, and it's him, and he introduces himself to me, and he goes, "I'm so sorry, I didn't say hello to you earlier. I had to be in a, I was in a, he's like, I had to be in this headspace, and I'm just so sorry, I'm so sorry. I'm Benedict. What's your name?" And he like made a silly joke of, "Oh, Eric, the name of our show." Like adorable,
Yeah.
kind of like dad joke or something. I don't know. Very sweet. But I just thought, wow, here is this A-list stellar actor who has a big job and did not need to worry about sort of like someone coming in to turn in a file, but he took the time to say, "Hey, I saw you, and
Yeah.
I see, and I just want you to know that you were not invisible to me. Hello, how are you?" That to me just like meant the world.
That's
And
so
I felt
precious.
Yeah.
I mean, I felt so like I'm a part of this, because
Yes.
for our newcomers and up and comers and people kind of in the early stages of their career, you can feel small,
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
lost or hidden or unimportant sometimes, or those feelings are so natural to have. And when you have a number one who just takes a moment to recognize you in that way, I mean, I just thought, when the day comes that I'm number one on the call sheet, I want to be able to offer that to someone, because it was offered to me.
Yeah.
And it meant the
So, okay, so just two things, right? The way you ended it, brilliant. When I'm the number one on the call sheet, always the right mental space. Not if,
Always.
when. Love that. And the other thing is, I just want to bring it full circle on how you started that with when you first come onto set, recognizing and knowing all the people that are there and what they do and how hard they work and where they, because we say this all the time too, and I don't think we can stress this enough. I don't care how great you are, how brilliant an actor you are, or actress you are, or director you are, or whatever the case may be that you're doing in the industry. There's going to come a point where you are not number one anymore. And that happens to everybody. It's just, that's the fact of it. Somebody's going to come along. They're going to be the it thing. They're going to be number one. And how you treat people is extremely important, because if you treat people like shit while you're number one, when you start that path back down and they're starting the path back up, they remember that, because everybody knows everybody. This industry is a lot smaller than people realize. Everybody knows everybody, and who you are gets spread very quickly. And so that is who you are. They know whether they want to work with you or not. They know whether you're a nice person or not. And so it's critically important. And it isn't just the actors. It's also the crew people. It's also the people behind the scenes who these projects don't exist without, right? We always say the people you never stay to watch in the credits. But without those people, I think that, in me personally, I think the most brilliant thing they ever started doing was mid-credit and post-credit scenes, because it forces people to have to sit and watch all of the people responsible for making that thing happen, and
Totally.
so
Yeah,
amazing to find a
totally.
way to see those names, right?
Yeah.
But kudos to you. I think it's extremely important for people to realize that these people are important, and you need to treat them with the respect and admiration as if they were number one on the call sheet, even though nobody will know who their name is. And it's extremely important. So kudos to you for that. I think that's amazing. Really is.
Oh man, I mean, I was just so grateful to be there, and you know, and kind of going back to like how I even ended up there. I remember, and a little sort of kind of leapfrogging back a couple topics.
Yeah.
Another thing too, in terms of like what I wish I knew is having, and because this is also related to mental health, I feel like the third thing I would add is have a support system.
Yes.
Have like a mental health hygiene system in
Yes.
place, and as well as whatever this means for you, a spiritual one, you know, something that connects you to something bigger than yourself and something beyond yourself, and connected to everything else around you.
Yes.
Because remember, you know, kind of, to me, I call it like my angels, you know, like my divine family. You know, I'm still in the process of figuring out what that means for me. So
Right.
I'm just like, whatever you are, that's bigger than me. You know,
Yes.
I'm thinking,
Yes.
like, I would just, before I booked this job, I just remember thinking like, this year I would love a piece of the pie. I remember thinking I would love a job that, like you said, just gets me on set
Yes.
so that I can learn, so that I can feel as confident as I do on stage, on set, you know, because it's also just about man hours.
Yeah.
Sometimes
is.
Yeah.
it's just about doing the thing. I mean, talent aside, whatever aside, it's like just about getting in there and like the elbow grease hours.
That's
you know?
right. Yep.
And so I remember thinking like, I would just love a job that gets me on set. I was like, I don't need the whole pie, just a little sliver, you know? And I felt like this job came, and it ended up, after watching the show, I was like, well, that's a nice chunk of the pie there. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Yeah.
I felt like it ended up being more than I even intended or dreamed, you know, but it was, you know, it was sort of me saying like, okay, I think I'm healthy and I'm ready to sort of like take this next chunk, you know?
Yes.
And so much
Speak
of my
it.
experience.
Speak it and manifest it into reality,
Yeah,
right?
and
That's
so much of
exactly
my
right.
experience
Yep.
on this job was beyond what you end up seeing on screen, was just sort of being there
Yes.
and watching Lucy
Yep.
and watching Abby and watching Gabby Morgan and watching McKinley, you know, it was just so fun.
I love that. I love that. And I mean, speaking of fun, how we like to end our interviews is by a quick little popcorn questions, fun questions that will get people
Yes.
to, you know, get to know you a little bit more. And
I hope I'm good
you
at
know,
this because I'm very chatty.
You've actually kind of addressed a few of them without
you
through this
really have.
conversation, so it's going to be
It's
fun.
so funny. First one, the funniest moment or the most memorable moment on the set of Eric.
Okay. In the car scene where we're smooching after dinner, for the first couple of takes, they didn't realize that McKinley's makeup was very creamy. His skin is so beautiful, very creamy makeup. We go to make out, we part, and I've got a full face of makeup. McKinley and I are not the same skin tone.
No.
There was a very funny moment. We're in the middle of this sort of, you know, intimate scene. I pull
Right.
away. We cannot get through the rest of the scene because I've got a lot of makeup on my face.
That's
Oh my
hilarious.
gosh, I love that.
It
Yeah.
was very funny.
And then it goes back to the importance of those incredible crew people and the people that make that stuff.
Exactly. So reapply.
Let's get that
Clean up,
fixed.
reapply, yeah.
Yeah, without those
and then
people, that
we-
ends right there. Oh my gosh.
yeah.
All right, I'm really curious about this one because of your background and because of all the different things that you've done. If you could live in any film or television show, which one would it be and why?
Like any, or that I've done?
Any.
Any?
Yep.
Ooh, film or television? I know. Okay. I would live in Practical Magic.
Oh.
With
Ooh.
Sandra Bullock and Nicole Kidman. in
Yeah.
that Victorian house.
Yeah.
With the haunts and the cats and the Magic. Oh my God. And the fact that they're doing a practical magic too.
That's what I was just gonna say. This might happen, right? Just again, speak it and make it
I would be
happen.
a delivery girl or something in that movie if they wanted me to. I'd be a background actor in that movie.
I don't know.
That
They
is
they had a
so
little
great.
dance. You could do a dance scene in that movie. I feel like that. Yeah, let's call that out there. Like,
Part two when they're like getting
yes, exactly,
Sure.
exactly.
Yeah.
That would be fantastic. Oh
I
my
would live
gosh,
in
I
that.
love that.
Also, it's like the mid '90s. Oh,
Yeah,
For
yeah.
sure. That's the jam. That's the jam for sure. If you could work with anyone, any time period, dead or alive, living now, whatever, who would it be?
Maggie Smith.
Oh, that was quick.
That was quick.
That was quick.
real quick.
I would love to work with Maggie Smith. I just adore her, and I just think she's so cool, and I bet she would be so sassy, and I think I would. And she's so accomplished.
Yes.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
Or her, or R.I.P. Betty White. I would
Oh my
love-
Oh,
gosh.
for sure.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I just found myself watching old clips from Hot in Cleveland with Betty White the other night or something. It came across and I couldn't help but stop and watch it. She was so good.
She's
was
so good. She's so funny. She managed to hang on to her joy throughout her life, which
Yeah.
is like
The
something I
entire
aspire
time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's classic. That's good. Yeah, two great choices right there. Okay, now we're gonna get a little serious and go the Barbara Walters route, kind of a thing. You kind of addressed this a little bit very early on in the interview, but I want to go back and kind of touch on it. If you could go back and tell your 10-year-old self something, what would you say to her?
Oh, you're gonna make me cry. I'm
Well, that's why we say it's the Barbara Walters moment. Come on.
Oh my goodness. I feel like I feel like I would lean down next to her ear and I would be like, you are gonna be so great. You're gonna have so much fun. Don't worry about it. Just do whatever you want. You know? Like,
Yes.
I feel like I would just empower her to be herself and
Yes.
not be afraid. I would say, don't worry about what anybody else has to say. Your life is gonna be so magical. Like, trust me, I'm gonna be there for you the whole time.
Nice.
You know?
Nice.
I would give her a guardian angel, which is like her future self.
Yes. Love
what I
that.
mean?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah. Great.
that little girl, little Harry Potter nerd. Oh, I just love
Yes, that's fantastic. That's actually kind of like a post I posted literally today. I live
Yeah.
in the southern region, New Orleans base, sort of, and we have a lot of magnolia trees. And I was walking through the park the other day, and I saw this one magnolia sprout just throughout this whole entire tree, no other one. Be that magnolia to where you can be as beautiful as you want, even if no one else is looking, no one else is paying attention.
Oh.
Be that magnolia for yourself.
Yes.
So that's fantastic. That's
Yeah.
awesome how it was like kind of correlated. That's really cool.
Yeah.
The fifth and final question.
Okay.
Are you in the Illuminati? I'm just kidding.
No.
I don't even know what that is. And like my morbid curiosity is like, is that real?
Well,
That's the
listen,
question.
So many people are like Holly weird. And I'm
Yeah.
like, what is that?
Just before this interview, we got a spam email from our company account that was like, "Do you want to join the Illuminati? Here's this for you. Be sure to reply back yes." I'm like, "What is this bot?" right now?"
Yes.
But anyway, the fifth and final one, still on a serious note. Are you happy with your career so far?
I am. I
Mm.
am happy with my career. I am happy, but I am not satisfied.
Ooh,
Boom.
there you go. There you
No,
go.
there are more stories I want to tell. There are more
Yes.
experiences I want to have. I don't need it all, and I don't want it all.
Mm.
But I feel like I have more to give, more
Mm.
stories to tell. I feel like I can give voice and life to more people that I think will connect things and connect for people. And that is the service I'm here to do. And then when I'm done with that, then I want to like retreat to my homestead farmhouse,
There you
Yes.
go.
chickens,
Yeah.
you know, and just say enjoy.
Yes, love
I'm
that.
happy, but I still have goals that
There
I
you
wanna
go. Oh my
reach.
goodness. Well, we didn't even bring up Ultraviolet, but I kind of like this whole interview. I'm sitting here and I'm watching. I'm like, I wonder if she'd want to jump into the DCU or the MCU, because I'm thinking, I see Jubilee in the MCU. Just get back with Benedict and join the MCU and be Jubilee. They're introducing the
Yeah.
X-Men
I mean,
coming
I'm
up.
1 degree away,
Yeah,
right? I'm
yeah.
like one
The
degree of
X-Men are
separation.
coming. So I see you as Jubilee. You're just like, oh my gosh. Or Zatanna in the DCU, the magician, and I see that too. I don't know. Maybe it's just me, but
From your mouth.
you could totally be in
Exactly.
either of those
We'll
worlds.
push
I
it.
think so that'd be pretty epic.
So
Yeah.
so to my divine family, to my angel team, let's hear it. Yeah.
Yes,
Well,
there you go.
I would love it. And actually, those kinds of worlds, fantastical, magical worlds, first of all, it's something I've always loved since
Yeah.
I was a kid. But also, as like a classically trained and theater baby, I feel like that would be a really natural transition because it's a heightened reality. You know,
Yes, yeah.
it's an epic but grounded world, and it's fantastical and magical. And it's like, I think it takes a particular kind of like vulnerability and commitment to embody that space and
Right,
that world.
right.
And I feel like I would do that so well.
Can we take that and send that to Marty Scorsese, please? No.
Right.
I feel
Make
like
a cut of that.
all this kind of judgment on those type movies, but I love what you just said. From the background that you come from and from the theater training and the acting kind of you look at most of the people that are starring in these films, they are classically trained actors who have performed on stage and done amazing things.
many.
To say that it's somehow not real acting or not real storytelling, I'm like, how do you weave an entire universe over 10 years and 24 films and say it's not storytelling? What? Right?
Are we gonna talk to the Lord of the Rings cast?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yes. Yes.
Even like the Harry Potter universe, like
Yeah.
all of these worlds to me are very real. And the thing is that they're very real for a lot of people, and
Yeah.
that's what I care about, is that it really creates a space for people to escape and also feel seen. You know, feel connected. And like, if you've ever been to a Comic-Con, happiest place on earth.
Oh.
You know what I mean?
Literally.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm in service of it. For
Love
sure.
it. Love it.
It's so great. That's so great. Well, listen, thank you so much for coming on the show today and just giving a little bit of your time. It's been an amazing conversation.
For sure.
Invite anytime you want to come back and promote a project, shoot the shit, or come on our mental health podcast and we can dive into so many different things like expectation and all of these different things. I think it would be another amazing conversation. So again, open invite, and now the floor is yours. Feel free to promote whatever you want and tell people where they can follow you.
Oh my gosh. Well, I have a very lackluster Instagram because I'm a millennial and and I'm trying to get better at it. I should say that. I'm sure millennials out there are like, "What are you talking about? I'm great at Instagram." But you can find me if you wish at Erica Soto V as in Victor on Instagram. I'm a resident artist at a classical theater company here in California, and so if you happen to be in Southern California and want to check out some amazing live classical theater, A Noise Within Theater in Pasadena is where you can find me doing things live and on stage.
Nice.
And I'm doing a show this summer at the She LA Play Festival here in Los Angeles. Again, more theater, and that's otherwise. I'm just watching a lot of witchy movies and drinking a lot of herbal infused coffee.
There we go.
That's about it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Love
Hey,
it.
Waiting for Scorsese or someone from the DC Marvel universe.
There you go. There you go. Yeah. We'll get on the horn with Feige and Gunn right now. We'll make it
No,
happen.
we're not. Oh, Benedict Cumberbatch. Be like,
Yes.
"Hey, buddy."
Yeah. There you go.
Hey, buddy, remember
was
that
the-
one time that you
that
forgot to
one.
say hello to me?
You owe me a favor.
That's right. Listen, Doc Strange. Let's get in there. Come on,
Oh, my goodness.
Thank you,
Well,
guys.
Yeah,
That
of
was-
course. Thank you.
Yes. Listen, take care. Thank you again so much, and we'll be talking to you soon.
Thank you.
Oh my goodness.
Woo.
Talk about a great interview, especially it's been a little month gap
Yeah,
since we've had
yeah.
one. So to come back in such an amazing fashion, was phenomenal.
Oh my gosh, she was such a joy to talk to. She just lights up. You can tell the passion that she has for what she does, but then also the grounded in reality of the industry and how it works. And yeah, man, what an incredible conversation. And you can tell the one thing that was oozing out to me that whole conversation is how grateful she is for where she's at and what she's able to do, and her desire to tell her story for others to kind of do. I love that, bro. It's just always such a good conversation.
For sure. Thank you again, Erica Soto, for coming on the show.